Tonight, we're in the middle of Brooklyn at Greenwood Cemetery for a very special concert experience. I'm Jeff Spurgeon from WQXR, inviting you to settle in for a unique and unexpected journey through this historic resting place. When it was founded in 1838, Greenwood was one of the largest and earliest rural cemeteries in America. Today, it spans 478 acres, and with more than 570,000 permanent residents, it's still an active cemetery. Cremations and burials take place here throughout the year. But Greenwood is much more than just a cemetery. It's a place to discover art and history and nature. Tonight's event, curated by the organization Death of Classical and by Greenwood, blends music, history, literature, and dance into a single, sweeping, shuddering cry into the night. We'll hear poetry by James Weldon Johnson, Langston Hughes, and Terrence. And throughout our journey, accompanied by live music, we'll learn about some amazing people whose remains are buried in this majestic resting place. This very special experience is a lament, a love song, a prayer, and a plea to America in a time of deep uncertainty, in remembrance of all that this nation has been and in the hope of all that it can be. This is To America.
America, I hear you hiss and stare. Do you love the air in me as I love the air in you? Black boxes of cargo, black boxes in holes. Hysteria, hysteria, I hear you hiss and stare. Black eyes and blackouts, blackjacks and nightmares. America, do you care for me as I care for you? Do you love the air in me as I love the air in you? to me. The sky ain't half so blue. Seems like to me that everything wants you. Seems like to me I don't know what to do. Since you went away. Since you went Oh, everything is wrong. The day's just twice as long. The birds forgot his song. Since you went away. Since you went Seems like to me I just can't help but sigh. Seems like to me my throat keeps getting dry. Seems like to me a tear stays in my eye. Since you
Dewitt Clinton was a New York City mayor, a New York State governor, and a United States senator. In the early 19th century, Clinton was a major force behind the building of the Erie Canal, which connected the Hudson River to the Great Lakes, providing a trade route from Europe to the Midwest, and making New York a world financial center. The Erie Canal was also one of the routes on the Underground Railroad, used by people escaping bondage from slavery. Ironically, though, the Erie Canal increased demand for the textiles produced with slave labor in southern states.
Deep river, my home is o'er the Jordan. Deep river, Lord, I want to cross over into campground. Deep river, my home is over Jordan. Deep river, Lord, I want to cross over into campground. Oh, don't you want to go to that gospel feast, that promised land, where all is Deep river, Lord, I want to cross over into campground.
This memorial is in honor of Charlotte Kanda. On a stormy February night in 1845, Charlotte and her father and one of her friends were riding home in a carriage in Manhattan. They'd just left the party celebrating Charlotte's 17th birthday. They stopped at her friend's house, and her father was escorting the friend to her front door when the horses, perhaps frightened by lightning or thunder, bolted furiously away, galloping down Broadway. Charlotte was thrown from the carriage, striking her head. Her frantic parents were summoned to the scene, where Charlotte died in their arms. Her ornate greenwood monument is of her own design, not intentionally, of course. Charlotte, the year before, had sketched ideas for a monument to her recently deceased aunt. Charlotte's father adapted those sketches in his daughter's memory, making her tomb 17 feet high, 17 feet deep, and decorated with 17 rosebuds, one for every year of the life that ended on Charlotte Kanda's 17th birthday. Charlotte was engaged to a French nobleman who, just a year after his fiancée's death, committed suicide in the Kanda home. Because he took his own life, he could not be buried in the consecrated ground of the Kanda lot. But he rests near her in the adjoining lot, about 25 feet away. Greenwood Cemetery has 2 stones to mark the grave of Margaret Pine, the original, now unreadable marker from the 19th century, and a new stone on which the original inscription is legibly carved. Margaret Pine is believed to be the last person who died a slave in New York State. Born a slave in Westchester County in 1778, nearly 80 years later she was still serving the Van Zandt family that had owned her. But slavery was outlawed in New York State in 1827. So what happened? In 1813, the Van Zandts offered to free her, but she asked to remain in the service of and the care of the Van Zandts, and they agreed. Her story of an exemplary Christian woman who remained in the service of the family that had held her as a slave was used as propaganda by both abolitionist and pro-slavery factions. Margaret Pine died in 1857 and was buried here in the Van Zandt family plot.
bearing strange fruit, blood on the leaf and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree. Pastoral scenes of the gallant South, them big bulging eyes and the twisted mouth, scent of magnolias clean and fresh, then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is the fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the leaves to drop. Here is the strange and bitter cry.
At the height of the Civil War, Greenwood's trustees offered free burial in this lot for any man from New York State who had fought to preserve the Union. One of them is drummer boy Clarence Mackenzie. At age 12, Clarence begged his mother to allow him to go off to war with his regiment. She initially refused, but Clarence kept pushing her until she relented, and he went to war as a drummer boy. While still stationed in camp at Annapolis, Clarence and another boy were practicing with muskets when his friend's gun misfired, killing Clarence. His monument claims that he is the first casualty from Brooklyn in the Civil War. When he was buried at Greenwood, Clarence's dog lay at the grave for a week, refusing to leave.
When buffeted and beaten by life's storms, when by the bitter cares of life oppressed, I want no surer haven than your arms. I want no sweeter heaven than your breast. When over my life's way there falls the blight of sunless days and nights of starless skies, enough for me the calm and steadfast light that shines so softly within your loving eyes. The world for me, and all the world will hold, is circled by your arms. For me, there lies, within the lights and shadows of your eyes, the only beauty that is never old.
to America, written by James Weldon Johnson. How would you have us as we are, or sinking neath the load we bear, our eyes fixed forward on a star, or gazing empty at despair, rising or falling, men or things, with dragging pace or footsteps fleet, strong willing sinews in your wings, or tightening chains about your feet. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek, and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man, full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit power gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today despite the dream. Beaten yet today, oh pioneers. I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home, for I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore and Poland's plain and England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me, surely not me. The millions on relief today the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all the dreams we've dreamed, and all the songs we've sung, and all the hopes we've held, and all the flags we've hung. The millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again, America. Oh yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we, the people, must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain. All, the stretch of these great green states, and make America again. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for joining us and watching this live stream of this production, this collaboration between Greenwood Cemetery and the Harlem Chamber Players and Death of Classical. I am James Bennett. I am a digital writer and editor at WQXR. And I'm joined tonight via Zoom with Liz Player, the executive director and artistic director of the Harlem Chamber Players, and Death of Classical founder and general artistic director, Andrew Owsley. I want to ask both of you, Liz and Andrew, to just kind of talk about yourselves and your work and what you do to get things going. And Liz, let's pass to you.
Sure. So thank you very much, James, for having us on this show. I founded the Harlem Chamber Players in 2008, and our mission basically is to bring affordable and live classical music uptown to Harlem and beyond, and while providing opportunities for Black and Brown musicians, particularly, who are so underrepresented in the classical music arena. So that's basically what I do.
Great, and I'm Andrew Owsley from Death of Classical. I just want to say, first of all, by the way, thank you so much to the Green Space, WNYC, WQXR, for putting a huge amount of time and effort and love and care into filming that, which was not easy. And we are so grateful for the beautiful, beautiful job done. But I created Death of Classical. We present classical music and opera concerts in crypts and catacombs and cemeteries, basically trying to create a better experience, a more interesting experience around classical music, and to just share some beauty with the world.
Let's get the obvious question out of the way first, and that is, what is the conversation that went down between you, Andrew, and Liz that ended with, yeah, let's take Death of Classical, let's go to Greenwood, let's just kind of do this program, this musical tribute and meditation to Black America through a lens of classical music. How did that come to be?
Liz, I'm gonna let you take that one.
Oh, sure. This is a very new partnership for us. And, it was just fantastic that Andrew reached out to us first to perform a couple of outdoor, several outdoor concerts in the cemetery in September. And the quartet that you heard in the first chapel was just so excited to be playing together again. I mean, everyone has been holed up inside and unable to meet. And it was tricky at first because we were a little nervous about coming together and how everyone could rehearse safely. And so after that, Andrew asked about this program and he described it, and he and Harry Weil at the cemetery took me on a tour, and I was really intrigued by the idea. It just sounded really profound. So I loved it, and it was just perfect for what we want to do and what we want to convey.
Cool. Andrew, I'm pretty sure you're intimately familiar with with Greenwood Cemetery. And so can we talk about just how these different sites were selected? At which to present the music. I mean, we were at, Charlotte Canna's monument and the Margaret Pine burial site, the Dewitt Clinton, statue or whatever. So talk to me about that. What's going on?
Yeah, well, obviously, this is a program at the end of the day that's about America and trying to explore where we have been and understand better, hopefully, where we are right now and where we might go. And Greenwood is filled with some of the most amazing people and the amazing stories in this country, and they represent such an amazing swath of the humanity that has made up America. And so basically, working with Harry, we picked the spots that I thought I could find music that would both elucidate the stories of the people there, as well as speak to the larger themes of our country and what we were going through. And so, from Dewitt Clinton, the sort of conflicting consequences of our actions, unexpected sometimes, to Charlotte Canna, I mean, a life lost too soon, of which we've seen more than our fair share in recent months, as well as contrasting the monumental grave of this 17-year-old white girl to this sunken stone of Margaret pine and this incredibly just imposing tree behind it. That and obviously you heard two very different experiences of what it is to be under a tree in that part. And then the scars of the Civil War, which are, you know, certainly still with us today, running through our country, and the catacombs, and looking to life and how we can both appreciate life and learn from the shortness of it.
The poet James Weldon Johnson, you know, was best known arguably for penning "Lift Every Voice and Sing," the Black national anthem, which is a very, very good one, I believe. That piece of music was a through line, you know, throughout the entire evening. Liz, can you talk to me about the different transformations that particular piece took on from beginning to end?
Sure. But, you know, I just want to let you know that Andrew was the curator of this mainly, but, and I just helped with some ideas and helped mainly with the logistics. But in the first chapel, the string quartet performed it, and it went into a minor key. And there was just this mournful, full element that just was a thread throughout the entire evening, you know, because we're in the cemetery and we are in a time of mourning. And then, you know, you hear that in the brass quintet as well, because, you know, this is about to America, and we're just not there, and we're still reckoning with racism in this country. You know, after 400 years, we still haven't come to terms with it. And one of the comments I saw when Lady Jess was improvising on her violin was that she captured this communal longing that we have. So I think, you know, we're just all trying to reach that point, some sort of reckoning that we need. And I just felt that, you know, it just really tied the entire evening together and led to the climax, you know, when the singer at the end sang a cappella.
Yeah. You know, you had also earlier talked about, Liz, you talked about how, you know, these musicians were able to physically be present.
Right.
And practice and get ready to present music to a live audience, which is something that we really have not you know, experienced since, you know, the end of February, the beginning of March. Can I ask both of you to talk about some of the challenges that came through putting on an ambitious program like this, you know, during this lockdown that we were in?
You want to take that, Andrew? Or?
Yeah, it was an insane thing to do in hindsight, but it was just amazingly gratifying to see musicians be pouring their heart and their souls into this music and these performances, and just communicating so passionately and powerfully and urgently to the audiences who received it with such an openness of spirit and heart. You know, it was obviously, we had to contend with very, very strict and justifiably so, but also constantly shifting regulations around COVID, and working with Greenwood's lawyers and who gave us very clear guidelines at every point, which is wonderful. But, you know, figuring out how to create this experience for small groups that could move safely in a distanced capacity, keeping the performers safe and distanced. And it was a lot of jumping through a lot of hoops, but at the end of the day, to be able to present live music to people was, you know, it's worth the work.
Liz, were you going to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can't tell you how grateful the musicians were to just be able to play together again, you know, after such a long time. And it was a challenge also getting rehearsal spaces. You know, we also had to follow some strict guidelines. And when they first got together, when I first called people, you know, a few of the musicians were a little bit nervous. So I had to check to make sure that the rehearsal spaces also followed guidelines and they were masked, and the rehearsals were socially distanced as well.
Great. I want to take a moment to acknowledge that during the stream, there are a lot of, wonderful comments that are coming in from viewers. And I want to invite anyone who's watching this to, direct some questions to the comments on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll try to answer those. So if you have anything to say, please, by all means, share it with us. We're waiting for that to happen. I also wanted to ask both of you to take us to that moment of preparation. I want to know about the mood, the feeling of these musicians, of this crew, while they're putting this music together, right? This music, this program is so somber. What was that communal feeling like, apart from the elation, of course, of being able to play and bring music to each other once again?
Well, I can tell you, the one piece I recommended for the first group was by Carlos Simon, Elegy, A Cry from the Grave. And that piece was dedicated to victims of police brutality, namely Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, and Michael Brown. And then that was followed by a piece that Andrew chose. He heard Kenneth Overton in a YouTube recording singing Since You Went Away by H. Leslie Adams. And I found out later that piece really moved people. I also was moved when he was singing that. And I also heard from people who teared up after hearing him sing that. And in an Opera Wire review or interview, he said that that piece was actually something very special for him, that he picks and chooses when he sings that piece. He often sings it at memorial services, and he's lost friends and family. So that really meant a lot to him. And so he didn't choose this piece. Andrew chose this piece. And so he was surprised when we reached out to him and asked him to sing this for this event. And we're just honored that he agreed to do it, because it really meant that much to him.
Andrew, do you have anything you want to add to that sentiment?
No, I mean, like I said, the musicians, I mean, they even though it's interesting because each of them is part of this whole, and tonight is probably the first time most of them are seeing the other performances that were surrounding them and understanding how their piece fit into the whole of the evening. But each of them, brought such a total commitment to it, and to not just the music that they were playing, but the idea and the message of the evening as a whole, and what we were trying to statement we were trying to make. And yeah, it was just something I'm profoundly grateful for.
Yeah, I want to follow that too. I mean, this was a very moving program, right? In terms of both the music and the location and the symbolism, everything that it meant. And I'm sure it would have felt that way in any particular day, in any given year this would have been presented. But given that this is happening in this global pandemic, given this is happening in the autumn following a summer of righteous anger and vocal unrest, right, at a time where we saw 67% of Americans of all different ethnic backgrounds could agree with the statement Black Lives Matter, right, at work, which is something that, at least to me, is mind-boggling, that would have happened, in, let's say 2015 or something. What can you talk about the gravity of doing this program and curating this right now?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we did this because we needed to say something. And, my heart breaks for the country I love. And it's broken so many times over these months that, from the pandemic, the sirens of the ambulances, the shouts of the protests, the screaming of politics. It feels like there is a need for a reckoning, as Liz said, a catharsis or a reflection. And, I've tried to choose music that speaks to that moment. But at the end of the day, while this is a somber program, no doubt, it's not just a lament. And I've thought, in addition to those moments, I've thought about the times that have given me hope. And, the thing I kept coming back to every time was that, that moment at 7 p.m. when we would come to our windows or our balconies or our steps, and we would just, clap and cheer together and be grateful to the people who were risking their lives to save ours. And and that shared experience with people I'll never know and I never met before, but that shared experience I think got me through and got a lot of us through that time. And so ultimately, it's a program that ends with hope and with the belief that these shared experiences can bring us together towards something greater than ourselves. And that the belief, which I firmly believe, that there is a better time and a better place for us, as Bernstein, another Greenwood resident, put it, and that we can learn from the past and we can build a better America together. And that's my hope.
And Liz, I want to give you a chance if you want to add anything onto that.
I just think, beautiful music. I mean, sometimes some of the pain we're feeling, you just can't put into words. And so that's where music, I just think is just really healing for us at this time. And so I just think it's very much needed. And as we were putting this together, I mean, it was really complicated. And, we just had to work on logistics and put out fires. But, so I didn't really get the entire picture because, basically this was Andrew's vision. My job was to get the musicians and to just, help with that. But after the dress rehearsal was the first time I walked through and got to see the entire program as a whole. And I was just really moved by it. And I think it's just really needed. And it was healing for me as well,
I'm going to swing things back to where we started, where both of you were talking about one of your artistic missions, right, is to bring classical music to audiences that either want to have trouble accessing it or may not even think that they actually want to hear it. And so with that in mind, I think that colors a question from a viewer named Brooke, who asks, how can we get more programming like this? What a wonderful way to get exposed to things I'm not familiar with. So how do we get more programming like this?
I think it's coming.
Yes, we're working on it now.
I think there's going to be a lot of change on the other side of this pandemic in our industry. And I think part of that change is a painful realization of the fact that classical music has lived in a bit of a bubble. And, one of the reasons I reached out to Liz, I've been such an admirer of the mission and the execution of that mission that she has done with the Harlem Chamber Players. And, putting this program together, like the first thing that I thought to myself is like, if we're going to do a program called To America, we need a group of musicians who represent America and in all of its color and all of its character. And, to me, that's one of the things Liz has achieved in just an extraordinary way with her vision, is to present that and to make classical music look like the country that it is made in. And, from a programming standpoint, my goal has always been with everything we do, especially with this program, to not draw any lines, whether the composer be black, white, female, male, 400 years old or 35 years old. It doesn't matter. Like, the music that speaks to us is the music that speaks to us, and they should be treated the same, with the same respect and honor.
Yeah, and I mean, we're in the middle of this situation where it's not as easy to freely go about our lives outside. But is there somewhere, whether physical, digital, somewhere in between, that you would send someone like Brooke, who was curious to learn more about and listen to more classical music? Liz or Andrew, please take it away.
Oh yeah, just, come visit our website. We're working on other programs, and we're just really so honored that and just excited about this new partnership with Andrew and Death of Classical, because the way this is curated was just so thoughtful, and the music was just so beautiful, and we want to be able to reach out to people in that way, and it was just heartfelt. And that's the type of program that we want to be involved in, and that's why we agreed to do this, and that's why I was excited to be part of this.
Yeah, and I'll chime in on that. I mean, listen to WQXR, listen to, go to the concerts of the Green Space and listen to what they program. I mean, I learned a lot of my programming from you guys. Basically, you guys are the professionals at the end of the day. But there are people who are fighting the good fight in our industry in classical music, and who are trying to tell a better story, create a better experience, and present a better mix of the music that is classical music, however you want to describe that. And my advice to you, Brooke, would be find those people and listen to them and talk to them. Like I listen. I hear so many suggestions and I take them all into account, and that's how I learn and grow, and that's how we all grow.
Word. So we have another question from a viewer who was asking, what classical music y'all listen to in order to feel hopeful? And it should be noted that they are asking for a friend. So anonymity is very much preserved right now.
I'm letting you go first.
Yeah, no, I listen to a lot of music and I get a lot of suggestions, but some of my favorite composers include Bach. I love Bach, and Hailstork, Adolphus Hailstork. Lately, I've been listening to George Walker. But again, I also listen to WQXR. I also on YouTube, actually, I find a lot of music and listen to those. And these days, I'm actually seeking out Black composers. And I think there's a movement right now to bring more Black composers to the forefront. Margaret Bonds, I mean, these are composers that I did not listen to growing up because we were taught to listen to Beethoven, Brahms, and Bach, even though that was the first name that I mentioned, but, I love that music. But, there's so many other composers out there. And so you can even just Google Black composers and just search for music on YouTube as well. And there are also a lot of Sphinx Music Organization is another one, Gateways. So there are many groups out there too.
I'm gonna give you 4 pieces of music that give me hope. Beethoven, Opus 132 string quartet, his last string quartet, just the slow movement. It's about 20 minutes long, and he wrote it after he had suffered from this crippling bout of tinnitus in his ears when he was deaf, and he thought he was gonna die, and then he recovered, and he wrote this slow movement in thanks for his recovery, and it is one of the most extraordinary expressions of recovery and finding light in the darkness. That's one. Arvo Pärt, Spiegel im Spiegel. The cello and piano version is my favorite. There's a million different versions of it, but that is a piece that is on paper should be so stupid. It's just like a extended slow movement with just a rising and falling of scales. And every time I hear that piece, it breaks me down and then builds me up better than I was before. Caroline Shaw's Entr'acte, played by the Attacca Quartet, is the recording I would suggest. That is just majestic, and it is a singular piece of music. And the George Walker, the lyric for strings, or the lament when it's in the string quartet version, wrote it in memory of his grandmother, who was a slave. And it is a piece full of, similar to the Barber Adagio in many ways, where it is full of sadness, and yet ends, to my mind, with a hope for something better.
I'm really glad you said Entr'acte out loud, because for the past 2 years or so, I've been saying it not like that. So I want to thank you for that. I think that's a good note to wrap on. A good evening of some very meditative music and some suggestions to give us hope as we sail into the next week. Take that as you will. I want to give both of you a huge thanks and the opportunity to say anything else to the viewers that are still on that they may not have gotten a chance to get around to. But the floor is both of yours.
Liz?
No, I just want to say thank you so much to you, James, for having us on this show, and to WQXR. And thank you, Andrew. Just really enjoying this partnership, and we hope to have much more for you soon.
Yeah, I will echo that thanks to everybody involved in this, and to everybody who has taken something from this. And we're grateful. And it's Halloween, but we think of Halloween, I think, as a remembrance of those who have gone before, rather than as ghosts and skeletons in a cemetery somewhere. And there is much to remember, and there is much to do with that memory, and to try to build a future that learns from that memory and builds upon the positive sides of it.
Excellent. Well, thank you both again, and happy Halloween, and good night.
Take care.
Thank you.